My name is Edie Lush. I'm delighted to be here. I lost my voice last night. I have not found it yet. The good news is that you're not here to listen to me. You're here to listen to my fantastic panelists. They represent a really diverse view of what we need to do to get money moving where it needs to go. We're going to be talking about economic inclusion, political reform, legal reform. We're going to be talking about the amazing things that happen here in Iceland. We already know some of them. Financial empowerment. So my real name is Edith. That was my grandmother's name, since this is the grandmother's living room. I'll share that. And Edith Wharton, another writer I love, said the only way not to think about money is to have a great deal of it. Now, if we don't have a great deal of it, what do we need to do? Because we know that power and money are inextricably linked. So I'd love to hear, first of all, from each of you, what you are doing to help women achieve more financial power. Lorinda.
So I'll start off by reminding everyone that in the United States, it's only been 50 years since 1975 that women were able to open their own checking accounts. So we've come a really long way in a short amount of time, but when you think about the way that women are now not only having their own bank accounts to build their net worth, they're starting small businesses. Although women are the largest cohort of people opening small businesses, we actually receive the smallest amount of venture capital investments. So JP Morgan Chase's mission is we seek to help make dreams possible for everyone, everywhere, every day. And so we have a center of excellence that focuses on women on the move, and we actually help small business owners have the mentorship and board guidance that will help them grow their businesses successfully. We think about ways that we can help make investments into those small businesses so that they can grow successfully. And then we also have down to employee level programming that can help fuel career mobility. Now, you asked specifically what I'm doing. So I also lead our co-brand card business with United Airlines. So I have funded over $7.5 million in scholarships for more women and people of color to become pilots. That unlocks a career function that can make, thank you, that can make over $300,000 to $700,000 in a year, and it's over 97% white cisgender male today. And the reason why is to go through flight school costs $100,000 for 9 months of flight school exposure. And so because we work with an airline company and we understand this challenge, we use our dollars to reinvest. And I think it's a privilege when you manage a business and you're able to actually allocate your budget to drive something that can help diversify a function and a career path.
How long does it take in flight school? How long?
It's 9 months. It's $100,000 for 9 months of training.
That's a lot of money.
It is, and it doesn't qualify for student loans.
Right.
And so that's the reason why opening up this path for more people. Many women honestly start going down the path to become a pilot, and they end up becoming a flight attendant because they don't have the funds to continue the education.
Interesting. Either, what about you? Tell us what you're doing.
Yeah, well, I think it is just very important to start by saying, of course, financial security is extremely important for women. To my mind, there are two fundamental reasons why women should pay close attention to their finances. The first one is, of course, rather obvious. It is about just financial independence of every woman. Having the, creating the freedom to make your own decision and thereby having control over your own life. Right. The second one is no less important in my mind, is that money guides decision making. And by investing, we can work towards more equal society and have ourselves genuine impact. So if there is something in my power to do, and I have been trying to do that here in Iceland, to change this, it is very important for society. It is, in fact, a fundamental equality issue. So we at Arion Bank, we decided to set up or launch a long-term initiative called Women Invest. We did a lot of studies when we were looking into this. Some of the results took us by surprise. Some positive, or less so.
Like what? What was surprising?
That girls under the 2 years, toddlers, they have less money than boys of the same age.
Extraordinary.
Yeah, it is. And the difference just grows as they get older. So that was the most surprise. But in general, you can say that in Iceland, although we are the best in the world when it comes to equality, men holds around 65% of the wealth and women around 35%.
So some work to do still, even in Iceland.
Yeah, even in Iceland. So if we continue at the same pace, it will take 70 years before we will have full equality between men and women in finance and wealth. And this is, of course, totally unacceptable. So we felt that something needed to be changed to speed up the process. And that's why we set up this Women Invest. It's mostly to be encouraging towards women, to be motivating. We have had educational meetings across the countries. They have been sold off, most of them. We have also set up a website where you can access everything. It's tailored to women. Everything you need to know about finance, savings, pensions, and etc. So, yeah.
What's happening as a result? Are you seeing change?
The results, we are seeing at least, we have had, I think, 30 meetings across the country for this past 10 months. It has been a little bit difficult market situation in Iceland, but yeah, we can see the difference, and people really like the initiative that we are doing.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Mona, tell us what you're doing to help give women
So
more
as a former banker, I totally acknowledge everything you're saying, but I'm on the other end of the spectrum. Because for me, economic autonomy isn't just about women's rights, it's fundamental to a healthy democracy. And at Equality Now, we actually work to change the laws that promote discrimination and violence against women. And you see, it's a wide spectrum of women that don't have the legal rights to an economic future, that leaves them in the spectrum of poverty, that leads to vulnerable exploitation, sexual abuse on one end, and at the other end, the same laws prevent women from actually participating in economies that can get them ahead. So in some ways, it's a double whammy, but I'd like to call it economic illiteracy, because it only benefits countries to promote women to have agency and access to capital so they can contribute in equal measure to their male
Tell us a little
counterparts.
about tell us one success story. Where have you made a difference in changing the law that gives women more financial power?
Absolutely. We've changed about 85 laws in the 30 years that we've been around, and I'm shooting for 100 this year. But
Nice.
I'll give you an example. Last year, I was in Nairobi, where we were celebrating 20 years of the Maputo Protocol, which is the fundamental women's rights document that sort of shapes Africa. And Botswana was in the room, and the sheer peer pressure made the ambassador of Botswana stand up, because they were one of few countries that hadn't ratified the protocol, and say, we won't be shamed, we will ratify it. And so I asked her the question, when? And she said, by the end of the year, which was a tall order given that we were in July.
Right.
But they did it. And as a result, that was about 1.4 million women in Botswana who had equal rights to be able to earn a living wage, to be able to gain economic independence and have their rights protected. So that was just one simple solution that came about through peer pressure. But every day on the ground, we are working, as I call it, from the grassroots to the treetops, because we work in coalition with many, many, many rights organizations, both representing women and men, because this is not just a solution for women, it's for the whole economy. And then really working with politicians and looking at legal frameworks that hamper laws from that prevent laws from being discriminatory.
So let's hear where your biggest challenge is. Lorinda, tell us where your biggest challenge is when you look at this challenge around giving women more power through having more money, through having more impact around their credit, around their investment. Tell us where you face the biggest threats.
So I think in America, the biggest challenge is equal parental leave and equal pay. I can say that Chase has leaned in heavily in this space, where we offer 16 weeks for equal parental leave for both parents in the partnership. And I think the reason behind this being so important is that you have to address the invisible workload that women carry. And so as their spouse or partner is ending up having to think through the decisions of who's eating what, how is the house getting clean, who's going to pick up the groceries, all of that is the mental load that women tend to carry that then takes away from their ability to prepare for how they show up at work. And so I think equal parental leave is a big part of that, but then also equal pay. And we have really leaned into being a true meritocracy. And so in recent years, thinking through job bands and salary bands and thinking about how you help people understand how to negotiate. And the more that we can do to empower women to understand if you perform well, then you can negotiate for your equal salary at work. But then you also need to negotiate at home to think about how you balance who's carrying the load at home. Those are two key things. I personally have had like mentees where I've talked to them about either hiring a nanny or someone at home to help alleviate some of their responsibilities, and they've shared, well, my partner won't really support that. And I've said, well, then your partner needs to help you think about how you manage all of these responsibilities instead of assuming that you'll carry the load. And so I think those are two things that are really important to help women move forward, because as more women have more economic funds available to them, then they can choose where they live, when and who they marry, and when and how and if they'll have children.
Interesting. Of course, we're in the place where equal pay, we have women on more boards here in Iceland. Tell us a little bit, though, about Ida, where you see the biggest challenges, even here in Iceland.
Yeah. So I think, we have been looking a lot into this, and I've been reading international studies. Some of them apply to Iceland, some not. But we need to, consider, why are women not as active in this market as to the same degree as men? Are we lacking role models, or does the way it's presented suit men better than women, or are women just generally not as interested in this field of topic? Or does the risk appetite between genders differ, as international studies indicates? In international studies, we also see a lot about, women taking more care of the homes and have more responsibilities there. But I think that, as you mentioned, we have this equal pay here in Iceland, and we have very well-developed pension system. It is fully funded and is almost 2 times GDP. But however, there is an entire generation between man and woman in that system, meaning that a man who does not have to rely on social security is born in the year 1958, while the same woman can be the daughter of that man because he is born in the year 1984. And the reason is wages, and that has, of course, direct income to wealth. Right. And although we have this legislation here in Iceland, both regarding women sitting on boards of large companies.
Companies above 50 people.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. So that changed a lot, actually, the system. And we have this equal pay system also, but however, in the lowest income brackets, the difference is none. But as you go higher, men tend to have higher income, and that is because you have salaries and also financial income included.
Okay, so still challenges here.
It is a lot of challenges
even in
here.
Iceland.
Yeah.
All right, I'm glad to hear it's not perfect, because I was thinking maybe I can move here. Mona, give us your take on what you think the biggest challenges that you face in your job, helping more women be included financially.
Well, the mere fact is that as of 2022, women around the world have only 75% of legal economic rights of men. And why is that important? Because we're talking about laws that actually restrict women's economic movement, not push them forward. So I'll give you some statistics. In 18 countries around the world, husbands can actually prevent their wives from working. Let's think about that. And in 95 countries today, we still don't have equal pay for equal work. And in a McKinsey study I was reading, it said that if women just had parity to men in terms of being able to exercise their economic agency, we could add $98 trillion to the world's economy. That's a lot of money to leave on the table. So I think even from just a basic economic perspective, it makes sense to have women have equal rights to economic agency. And then, as we heard, the 78% of unpaid labor is done by women. And that's a huge number, and that contributes, again, to unequal participation in the economy and GDP. So there are a lot of challenges, and they're all rooted in the law in one way or another.
You mentioned you had already changed 85 laws. Tell us about a law that you're hoping will change that might impact this as well.
We do a lot of work in sexual violence, and often people don't associate sexual violence with economic empowerment. But the reality is, 1 in 3 women experience sexual violence. And if you sort of multiply the impact of that into their daily lives, into their work performance, whether into the ability to raise families, that's a huge hindrance. So that's a lot of the work. We also work in child marriage, and I don't think I need to elaborate on what that does. We work in female genital mutilation and sexual exploitation, and all of these norms, which are sort of defined as social norms, which we have actually redefined as human rights abuses, hold women back. So the challenge is multi-generational, and I think unless you actually right-size laws to focus on these very fundamental issues, the world's glass will always be half empty.
Yeah. So, go ahead.
To build on Mona's point, I think another challenge that we find in the US economy is that women tend to outlive men by 7.5 years. Women also tend to not only take time off for maternity leave, but then they may take a few years off to take care of their children until they're able to start school. And now that we're in the sandwich generation, women may take time off from work to take care of older siblings or older parents who may have failing health. When you combine that, women are then exiting the job market more often than men. And you couple that with the pay gap. That means that they have less available to invest for retirement. And that can add up in a compounding fashion that when you think about how much men have to fund their retirement compared to how much women have, it's almost a 15-year gap in like how long they can sustain their livelihood. And so there's a lot that we have to think about making up ground of not only the pay gap, but thinking about the time that women are in and out of the job market so that they can actually fund their retirement in a healthy way.
And to that point, the pensions. If you have big gaps in your employment, you don't work for this long enough, you're not saving enough money or building up your own post-retirement bank account. So your investments are lower, you have less work experience. It's very hard for those of you who's tried to on-ramp once you've taken the couple of years off, right? It's very difficult to get back, either at the same position or at the same salary scale that you were at, let alone ahead. And so you're just being denied a longer life, you're living a longer life, but on unequal terms.
There we can learn from Iceland, if I may step in. So there we have equal maternity and paternity leaves. The mother has 3, the father 3, and then they have combined 3 months. We at Arion Bank, we wanted to take this longer, so we add up to 80% of the salaries that are giving to our employees. Also, legislation can help, of course, up to a point as well.
Okay, running out of time briefly, we're in a time, misogyny, misinformation. Our next panel, I believe, is going to be about misinformation. What can we do, what can you guys do to help get money moving where it needs to go? We know where it needs to go. Tell us, Lunda, what you're doing in terms of ad spend when you think about Chase credit cards.
Yes, so we control a fairly large budget of advertising dollars. And so we have actually left certain social media platforms for a period of time when we did not agree with certain policies for targeting and things like that.
Not to name any names, but you've left and haven't come back yet?
Not yet to all platforms. And so we have not yet come back to all platforms.
Okay.
We also have been very intentional. I think that I can openly share, like when we think about the way that we leverage AI with how we monitor certain ad placements on things like YouTube. And so making sure that certain channels stay true to what we expect them to be when we decide to place our ads there. And so that type of ongoing monitoring is really impactful to ensure that we're not supporting misinformation, that we are not supporting things that condone violence or anything that's like adult in imagery. And so we're very thoughtful about that and where our ads are placed.
Okay. What about you, Etha? What can you do to get money moving?
It's just very similar that they are having. But since I see that time is already almost out, I just wanted to say that we are very ahead here in Iceland. and we are looked upon as an example when it comes to gender equality. So someone might say, shouldn't you just be happy with your position? I say no. I say that the full gender equality has not been achieved until we see full gender equality when it comes to wealth accumulation and investments.
Okay, in 10 seconds, where can we get money? How can we get money moving faster?
It's simple. It's change the laws or right-size the laws to fix the systems that work against us.
Okay.
So if, for example, 76 countries don't allow women to inherit land, I assure you that climate justice and climate change would be very different if that law was changed. And it's not just about legal change, it's about lived equality. So it's about centering the laws and making sure that people are able to execute those laws on a lived basis.
Thank you very much. So, Catherine Mansfield, a writer from New Zealand. Anyone here from New Zealand? I can't even see. So it's says I wrote that I must say I hate money, but it's the lack of it that I hate the most. So I'd like to give a very warm thanks to Mona, to Ida, and to Lorinda. And thank you to our terrific audience as well.